What's going on, everyone? DSP here with an update, a very important update regarding Bill S.978, which we had previously discussed last week. Pretty interesting. My video here on YouTube about the bill and the fact that it may potentially shut down all video game streaming video, all videos on YouTube and other video sharing websites of video game playthroughs and such, has gotten so much attention over the long weekend and the holiday, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched the original video, who spread the word about this issue, who basically did as much as they possibly could to get awareness out there. This is exactly the kind of response that we needed. This is exactly what is going to help us tackle this bill and make sure that it doesn't get passed in its current form, okay? So if you haven't seen it, I really doubt that you haven't if you're watching this video, but if you haven't seen it, definitely go check out my previous video, alert, that Bill S.978 may shut down all video game streaming and videos, okay? Now, I have some updates regarding this. I've been following along over the weekend of all the developments and things that have happened, and this was great that we stirred up so much conversation, because what we've done is we've now had so many people become aware that we fleshed out people who are experts, who know different things about law, and we now have a more complete understanding of the entire situation regarding the bill. Now, the first thing that I want to do here is tell everyone, no, we are not safe. No, there was no misinterpretation of the bill. Everything that I discussed in my previous video is absolutely correct. There are some people out there who are trying to basically be these people who say, oh, you're too alarmist. Oh, you should just sit back and let the bill pass. It's not a big deal. Nothing's going to change. And these are the kind of people that if you listen to them, nothing ever gets done. Things like this bill will pass, and people will get screwed, and we won't be able to fix anything, okay? The whole thing about U.S. government is that you have the ability to be a part of it, to be interactive, to talk to your senator, talk to your congressman or woman, to get your voice heard and let them know on issues like this that this cannot be and this is not right. So don't listen to those people, okay? This bill is a threat. So now let's go and let's talk a little bit about some of the points that have come up over the past week or so regarding this bill to try to clear the air, okay? Now, first of all, the first thing that people are saying about this bill is, Phil, this bill is not a new law, you know what I mean? This is an addendum or an update to already existing law. That is absolutely correct. The people that are saying that are true. The law that this bill is amending is a law that's already in place that basically says if you illegally copy and distribute or publicly perform a copyrighted work, whether for any financial gain or not, you are legally liable for infringing that copyright. And right now in law, in place, the law that's in place right now basically says it's only a financial responsibility, okay? You will be fined a whatever amount that is found by the courts because you infringed that copyright. Now what it says is you need to have 10 infringements within a 180-day period, and the total value of the violation of copyright has to be $2,500 or more. Now that's not saying that you made $2,500 by copying and distributing this work. It's saying that the value of whatever that copyright is $2,500 or more. So, for example, if EA Games feels that the copyright for Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is worth $2,500 or more, then you are liable to damages because you copied and distributed that work, okay? That's what the terms of the original law say. Now, the bill amends a couple things. The first thing that the bill amends is the penalty for distributing or publicly performing a copyrighted work. It's basically saying it's no longer just a fine, it's now jail time up to 5 years, and it's a felony on your record, okay? That's the first major change with this bill. The second major change is that the bill is now going to apply to not only things that are released out there, okay, games, movies, TV that are publicly released already, but also games, movies, TV that are not released. So what this means is if you see a screener, that leaked on the internet of, trying to think of Captain America, which isn't out yet, but if you found a screener of Captain America on the internet, that person is legally liable regardless of the fact that that movie has not been publicly distributed yet. Same thing with the video game. You just saw, it's actually true right now, Gears of War 3, a very early beta build of the game, has leaked on the internet, and people are playing the hell out of it right now. Well, whoever did that, whoever leaked that, is legally liable for that. Even though the game's not out, this bill is basically saying the pre-released game is still, you're still legally liable if you distribute that or do a public performance of that against the copyright holder's wishes, okay? Those are the two major changes with this bill. Now, the reason that everyone's kind of all of a sudden up in arms is because previously, it was just a fine, and usually, and we're saying 99.99999% of the time, the copyright holder, whoever it was, the movie studio, the video game developer, etc., don't care. They don't care, they don't prosecute, they don't effectually have a means to do so, and they just don't really care. Now, more so for video games, because video game playthroughs, in a lot of cases people argue, promote the game. Some people will say that if you do live commentary over a video game playthrough, it becomes a transformative work or a derivative work protected by fair use law, and therefore it's not able to be, say, claimed by a copyright holder that you would be responsible for doing that public performance per se. Now, on the flip side of that, really, it's going to be very, very hard for anyone who's distributing a movie or a TV show to try to make any kind of argument that they're protected under law, because it's just one unchanging work. There's no way that movie or that TV show is ever going to change, okay? You're taking one thing that, if it's a 90-minute movie, that 90 minutes is the movie, and that's what's copyrighted, and if you distribute any part of it, you're legally liable, okay? So the whole issue here is you're changing the penalty from being just a fine, a possible fine that most copyright holders aren't prosecuting, to jail time and a felony on your record. So now, the bottom line is this. A lot of people don't understand this, so this is what I want to clear up for everyone. Let's Plays and video game playthroughs, are they or are they not protected under U.S. law and U.S. fair use law? The answer is nobody knows. And the reason that nobody knows is because the law is open to interpretation, and it's never gone to a case in court, okay? So, there's two schools of thought. One school of thought is absolutely not. There's no way that Let's Plays and video game playthroughs, or anything, video game mashup videos, anything like that, online match play, is covered under U.S. law, or protected under U.S. law, because you're basically doing a public performance of an audio-visual of a video game, okay? So, if that's the case, literally every video game video on the internet breaks the law right now. Okay? If this is true, if this is a correct interpretation of the law, then we're all criminals. Okay? And we're all horrible people, and we're going to jail if this new bill passes. Now, don't be alarmist, because the way the bill works is it's not retroactive. If this bill does happen to pass in its current form, they can't get anyone for anything that's already out there on the internet or that you've already previously done. It would only be starting from day one, when the bill goes into law, that anyone could be looking to actually seek you for damages or try to get you to go to jail because you put video game footage on the internet. So if this is the correct interpretation, and all video game footage breaks the law, then what chances are you going to take that, gee, I'd like to do, a playthrough of Ocarina of Time, because I love that game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Are you really going to chance going to jail for 5 years and becoming a felon because you just want to share your video game experiences with other people? Regardless of if you're even making money doing it, are you going to take that chance? And then, going even further, what about companies like Machinima, YouTube itself, people like me who do video game playthroughs non-stop? There's a lot of people right now, big business, right now, off of this, because it's never seemed to be against the law. Again, it's never gone to court. No one's ever really sought out a copyright violation or fees for people putting up Let's Plays on the internet, and therefore, it's never been an issue. This law is going to make it an issue because of the severity of the punishment for a possible infringement of copyright, okay? That's the real issue with this law. And the thing is, the lawmakers who put this law in here aren't even thinking whatsoever about video games. It's the least thing on their mind. They don't give a shit about video games. This law is being pushed by Hollywood and the film studios because they don't like their movies, videos, TV shows being distributed. They could give two shits about video games, and most video game studios, if not, I would say the blanket statement, all video game studios really don't give a shit about video game footage. They allow it. In fact, there was a time back in 2010 when my original channel on YouTube, Dark Side Phil, got shut down for a false copyright claim. That's right. Someone pretended to be an employee of Ubisoft, okay? Because I was doing a playthrough of Splinter Cell Conviction on my channel, and they went to YouTube and pretended to be an employee and said, "We don't like that Phil's doing this playthrough. You know, shut him down." And so they did. They shut down my channel. And I flipped out, and all of my fans flipped out. After doing some research, my fans actually went to the Ubisoft forums and said, "This is nonsense. Why would you shut down Phil for doing a playthrough of your game?" And it's actually a good playthrough. People were liking the playthrough and going and buying the game because of it. So the people on the forums contacted the people who work for Ubisoft. Comes to find out, Ubisoft never did that, and in fact they even came out with a public statement saying, "We would never do a copyright claim against someone who's doing a playthrough of our game because that's free advertising, and we actually like that because it gets our game out there and more people buy the game because of it." This is a public statement that they made on their forums. So with an attitude like that, chances are most companies are going to care like that. They're going to say, "Listen, that's fine, it's free advertising." But this law, regardless of all that, is making it a felony to put video game footage on the internet. And the problem now is when you make it a felony, sure, maybe the copyright holder might not prosecute something or might not even seek to give you any kind of an infraction because you're doing a playthrough of a game, but what's to say that one of these assholes in the US government doesn't all of a sudden get a bug up their fucking ass and make it their new crusade to try to make sure that all video game footage is off the internet because it's a felony and it's wrong. Because it's happened before. Nonsensical stuff like that has happened, and this law is the gateway. This law is like the gateway drug to getting all video game footage off the internet for good. And it makes no sense, and again, it will potentially put us back to the dark ages of the internet where we had no public information about this kind of thing. People had to rely on advanced reviews from video game media, which, by the way, 99% of the time these days are completely overinflated and biased and bullshit. So that's why there's been such a giant explosion in video game footage in the past few years, because people don't trust these media outlets anymore. They want the individual to play the game and give their honest review on the game, and that's really what these video game playthroughs are all about, okay? Now, the other interpretation of the law is that video game playthroughs are covered under fair use law, because if you're doing live commentary, live criticism, so it's not just raw game footage, but you're actually commenting on what's going on, you're doing what's considered a let's play with commentary, then it becomes a transformative work under US copyright law. Or, other people have said it becomes a derivative work under US copyright law, and therefore it's protected under fair use. I'm of the belief that this is true. I can tell you, companies like Machinima, like any other company who's into major video game videos, like Machinima, are of that understanding of US copyright law. The problem is, like I said, it's never gone to court. Never has a company like Ubisoft tried to say to a person like me, "No, we don't like what you're doing, you're violating our copyright, take the videos down," and the person stick up for their own selves and say, "No, bullshit, I'm protected under US law," and so then a lawsuit was drawn up, it went to court, got hashed out, and finally had a resolution. It's never happened. Nowhere in US law will you find a black or white answer on this issue. It is an extremely gray issue, and depending on which side of the fence you're on, some people are going to say, "No, it looks like it favors the copyright holders," and other people will say, "No, it looks like it favors the let's players and people who make the video game videos. It's a transformative work." So it's completely uncertain and up in the air, and that's why people are so afraid of this bill passing. Right now, worst case scenario, let's say again, Ubisoft says, "Phil, we don't like what you're doing," and I stick up for myself. It goes to court and they say, "Okay, well, we found that you violated it, and well, okay, we can't concretely tell a financial damage that maybe you've done against us. So worst case scenario, maybe they make me take the videos down that they don't like. Maybe they give me some minor fines, even if they give me some decently sized fine. You know, I'm making decent money doing what I do. Okay, I learned my lesson, and then I'll have to find something else to do." But now it's saying, if a company chooses to pursue this copyright problem, you could go to jail for 5 years, become a felon on your record, which, by the way, pretty much shuts you out from many different places of employment and such, which is absolutely ridiculous. Gee, you're a felon here, Phil. You qualify for everything on our job list. In fact, you exceed all of our qualifications, but you're a felon. What did you do? "I played a video game on the internet." Well, Phil, sorry, you're qualified, but because you're a felon, you don't get employed. Wow, thanks federal government, you know what the fuck you're doing, don't you? And this is the problem with this bill. People are completely up in arms because it's ridiculous penalty for something that's not even clear that it's a violation of law. And until this goes to court, until this is hashed out and it's decided whether or not video game footage, streaming of video game tournament footage, or just gameplay footage is considered a public performance and a violation of copyright law, or if the commentary, the live criticism, becomes a transformative or derivative work protected under U.S. fair use law, this law cannot pass. This bill, S.978, cannot be allowed to pass in its current form, because you're basically taking people who have no idea they're doing anything wrong, who think they're actually doing a public service, and you're going to possibly throw them in jail and make them felons and basically ruin their fucking lives, okay? That's absolutely ridiculous. That's completely against everything that the United States believes in. Innocent until proven guilty. Well, that's great, but I have no idea if I'm innocent or guilty because you never had a trial. If you have a trial and you find me guilty, now my life is fucked. No, you have to have a precedent to a law before you can try to prosecute on a law, and there is no precedent right now to establish whether or not video game footage on the internet is protected or not. That's the problem regarding this bill, okay? So that's some real talk right now. I hope I've debunked a lot of the problems that people, or a lot of the issues that people have been bringing up with this bill, because there have been a lot of people challenging, and you're wrong. A lot of the things people are saying are just plain wrong, okay? It's not just works that are not released yet. It's going to be both things that are out there and things that have not been released yet are going to be covered. The penalty is going to be severe. We don't know if video game footage right now is covered under U.S. fair use law or not, because it's never been prosecuted. Now again, just because no company has ever prosecuted before or sought damages for copyright because there's been video game footage on the internet doesn't mean that the government might all of a sudden flip on their head and say, oh, now we're becoming a crusade against it and try to prosecute everyone on the internet. It's possible it could happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's still possible if this bill passes, which is why it cannot be allowed to pass as it is, okay? Now, one last thing I want to say. A lot of people have been saying, oh, Phil, you're an idiot. This bill already got shot down. No, it didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? Right now, the bill has not even really been majorly debated in the Senate yet. It has to go through the Senate, then it goes to Congress, and then if both of them pass it, it goes to President Obama, and he has the ability to sign it into law or to veto it, and even then it goes to a judiciary committee that has to review the law to make sure that it's constitutional. Chances are they probably will find that it's constitutional. This has nothing to do with that California law where they were trying to regulate, you know, state by the state, regulate video games and their ratings and whether or not you could sell a mature game to a kid and all of that. That has nothing to do with this issue whatsoever, and I get the feeling people are misconstruing the two, thinking that they're related somehow. This has nothing to do with freedom of speech, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment, and it has nothing to do with the constitutionality of the law. Copyright law is already considered constitutional. The problem is, like I said, Let's Plays and video game footage have never been fleshed out enough in a court of law to find out if they're a transformative or derivative work protected under the copyright law, or if they are a violation of current copyright law. And that's really what needs to happen before a bill like this one can be passed. Now, if you really want my honest opinion, and this is just my honest opinion, just change the law to say it applies to television, and video works, and just, exclude other forms of media like video games, music, etc. Because really, there's no protection for people who are doing karaoke and stuff like that. When you really think about it, Justin Bieber would be a felon right now if this law were in practice, because his whole up-and-coming thing where he was discovered on YouTube, he was singing other people's songs. And anytime you do that, according to this law, you're a felon. And so if any of those studios, those music studios thought that, wow, he's singing our song for free over YouTube, that's ridiculous. He didn't pay for rights to that song. Prosecute him. He'd be in jail. And I'm not exaggerating. He would be in jail. That's what this bill is doing. So just think how ridiculous that is. Here's someone who's just trying to sing a song and get noticed for their natural talent of their voice. Nope, you're in jail. You better sing an original song or you're going to jail. What the flaming fuck, man? Like, seriously, are we really going to a police state now where so much stuff is regulated you don't have the freedom to walk down the street and have someone record you sing a song? I mean, this is just getting so out of hand at this point. And it's very disturbing. It really is very disturbing that you have Hollywood and that one constituent group, again, whispering in the ear of our lawmakers saying, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, and the lawmakers like what's her name? I forget her name. Who started pushing for this bill to be passed? Have no fucking concept of how anything works. It's pretty simple. She doesn't know what she's doing, and for her to be pushing a bill like this proves that she doesn't know what she's doing. And so I'm really disappointed in our lawmaking system, but we have a chance. Again, we have a chance to speak up. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you either write your senator, your congressman, you contact them through other means, whether writing, you know what I mean, call them, call their offices are public. You can go to the link that I'm going to put in this video, the demand progress link. I had it in the last video, it's now in this video. Go there, make sure that you speak your voice, let the lawmakers know this is not acceptable in its present state. We need to flesh out more information about music and karaoke, about video game playthroughs, about all kinds of stuff before we can have a law like this go in place and make all these people felons. You really think that, you know what I mean? The reality of it is no one's going to instantly become a felon, but all it takes is one. This is it. This is the gateway. Like I said, this is the gateway drug. It's the gateway law. It takes one company, one infringement, one person to prosecute, and then that's it. That establishes a legal precedent for everything else in the future, and you will have no chance to defend yourself if someone comes down on you for the same thing. So we can't allow this to happen. We cannot. We need more information. We need this to be developed further before we can let this happen. So, okay. Also, I'm going to put a couple links in there in the description of my video. One of them is going to be to Ultra David's website, which was very, very useful in the whole debate. He was the one who wrote the original article about this that kind of fleshed out the whole problem of it on the internet. I caught his article. That's what alerted me to it. And so I'm going to link you to his website where he actually has a response article which answers a lot of these questions about naysayers saying that maybe he misinterpreted it or whatever, because he really didn't. He answers all kinds of challenges very intelligently over there, so go check that out. So that's it for now. When there's more developments, I will be back to let everyone know. Again, I would love to spark more debate on this subject. If you haven't already, please tell everyone about this bill and that it has to be changed or shot down. It cannot be allowed to pass in its current state because we don't have enough information. We don't have a legal precedent to know what's right and what's wrong, what's legal, what's protected, what's not. We don't have it yet. And we need to know before a law like this that makes you a felon can be passed in our law system, okay? Alright, so I'm DSP. Thanks for listening. I hope you understand the law a little bit more now that we've debunked some of the rumors and the challenges to it. And I hope that you understand how important it is that you get to have a voice if you're in the United States. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter where you live, you have the legal right to contact your senator and congressman and tell them, no, this bill cannot pass in its current form because it doesn't make sense as it is, okay? Thanks a lot. If there's more updates, I'll be back, but for now, stay cool, stay positive, hang in there, and we can do this if we speak up together. Thanks.